Big round coming up across the three men's divisions and EDFL women's, which unfortunately had a whole bunch of blowouts on the weekend. The closest result was Strathmore beating Craigieburn by 37 points, and they keep the Eagles winless.
They've been really unlucky
in EDFL women's. Can you believe Good Friday, which was Keilor Strathmore, was our broadcast game of course 8 weeks ago? Season's going that fast, which means we're a third of the way through it, and we are now up to round 7 this weekend, coming up in Strathmore Community Bank Premier Division. I want some tips and I want some thoughts on how these games are going to go. Biggest game of the year coming up across the entire EDFL so far is going to take place this weekend at Monk Oval. It's our broadcast game live, 98.9 Northwest FM. The EDFL live app will give you our Mixler coverage of Maribyrnong Park and Greenvale. We've seen the Jets once this year. It's our first look at Maribyrnong Park. This is a huge game, and I know you two are only available for the big games. And Sprouts, you're finally back on the coverage this week.
Yep.
After a week off, you're back as well.
All A-graders are back on board, mate.
This is an A-grade clash. Maribyrnong Park,
Premier
Greenvale.
team for a Premier Division clash, for a top-of-the-table clash as well.
Tipsters in the record, Sprouts, and I think you're still battling in the record tipping at the moment. A lot of them are going Maribyrnong Park in this one.
Well, it's hard to tip against Marby until they
Correction, all of them are. No one's tipping Greenvale.
Well, Marby haven't put a foot wrong all season, and, you know,
they're due for a loss, aren't they?
We questioned the last couple of weeks from Greenvale. Oh, you know, teams have gone 20 and zip before, Chief, especially in this league. We've seen it happen a couple of years ago.
Not so long ago.
But yeah, until Maribyrnong Park put a foot wrong, it's pretty hard to tip against them.
There's questions for both sides. So Maribyrnong Park, can anyone test them? As I said earlier in the show, the closest was 10 points. The rest is 7 goals.
Premiership favourite.
Greenvale, does Adam Marrick come back this week? And do we read anything from their last 2 weeks? I don't think we do. They were close within three-quarter time against Paco, and obviously close against West Coburg. But like I said, I think Chappie just wants to get the 4 points. Has he rested Marrick for these 2 weeks to get him right, make sure he's right for this top-of-the-table clash? That's the question.
Well, if he's rested him and they've still only win 2 or 3 games, was it worth it? Probably not.
For his body and the way he probably finished last year and then the late start to this year, I think it's more important for him than the 2 wins to make sure he's cherry ripe to go.
As we know, the ESNDFL.com.au EDFL teams article will be up Friday from midday. So we'll find out if he's among that squad of 25. Tips, Marby, Greenvale?
Got to go Marby.
Yeah, I'll go Marby, but I think it's within a goal.
This is a big game at Saul Reserve. Now, Glenroy's taking on Keilor. Glenroy's fancying themselves in this one because
so
Keilor,
they should,
as we know, fairly undermanned at the moment.
Yeah, well, that's the thing with Keilor at the moment. You know, they've had a decent season so far. 3-3 probably sums up where they are at the moment. A couple of injuries, but you know, Glenroy, you know, they've been pretty plucky this season. They've challenged a couple of really good teams, and I think Glenroy, they'd go in. You know, the loss last week to Aberfeldy was a bit disappointing, but you know, they should go in confident that they can win this game. It is a winnable game for Glenroy.
Sprout says Glenroy.
I give Glenroy every single chance. You're coming up against Keilor. No Andrew Brown. Does Ivan play?
Still waiting for him.
I'm not too sure.
It's been a couple of weeks now since that transfer went through, and it still hasn't sprouted up yet.
If no Ivan Maric, then I think they give him every chance of playing because they get probably an even ruck contest, and I think the way if Glenroy can play the way they did against Avondale and that ball movement and just that braveness and just how to just play on at all costs, I just think they can really test them.
They've got our man Ben McManus running around Keilor as well at the moment.
Is he the difference?
Well, I'm not sure now. He was in the first couple of rounds. Avondale Heights Paco. Now, this could be a tricky game for Paco, but this game's at Canning Street. Again, whether Dylan Conway, that appearance was just a one-off or not, we'll find out when teams come out on Friday. But Paco probably the favourite in this one against Avondale.
Yeah, Paco good enough defensively to keep Avondale Heights quiet, which they've struggled with so far this year, and I don't think Avondale, on the flip side, have got enough defensively to stop guys like Matty Watson and Lockie Hansen.
I think Paco would want this to be a shootout, knowing Avondale won't be able to keep up with them.
I think Paco by 10 goals, and I think that Foster, Hardingham will run right half back, and then Hansen and Watson are going to run right up forward, I think.
As we've said on this show in the last couple of weeks, but I think Paco's about to go bang. They're about to show the competition just exactly what they're made of. Traditional rivals, this one. Essendon Duda Stars taking on Aberfeldy. This one's at NGO, but unfortunately these days it's a battle of probably the best team in the division against the worst.
I'm going to go. I think it's a little bit of an upset.
What?
No. Sorry, I'm going the wrong game. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Jump the gun. Dudas,
I'm looking at the wrong game. So Dudas v Abbas. Abbas.
Aberfeldy.
I can't say much more than that.
All right, so is this where your upset tip is?
Yes, this
Coburg.
I was looking at that one, and it's
Coburg City Oval, not at the Shortress. This one, West Coburg taking on Strathmore. It's our final game for Premier of the round.
Obviously, I've already given a sneak peek of what
you think West Coburg wins this.
I think West Coburg's defence, and I mentioned it earlier, and we mentioned on the broadcast game, the defence is holding up this year. Strathmore at times have struggled to score. They get the jump early, but then they just fade away. So I think West Coburg, if they can hold them off early, they can turn it into a scrap like they did against Greenville, and I think they'll get the win.
The Digby Morale Cup, who wins at Sprouts?
It's not an outrageous tip to go for West Coburg, but I think Strathmore, they are missing a couple of numbers, but still I think Strathmore should get the win.
Best division in local footy. Games where we've probably got 4 clear favourites. West Meadows taking on Craigieburn is our first one for tipping this week.
Got to go with Craigieburn.
Craigieburn.
No upsets there. Hillside East Keilor.
Interesting game, I reckon, considering where Hillside is sort of at, missing a couple of players. You saw them last week, Chief. East Keilor still got a point to prove, but I think Hillside should get the win.
No, I think they will.
Hillside get the win.
They were still okay.
This is the chance, probably the closest game in this division this week.
Potentially. Tullamarine still undefeated. They take on the promoted Jacana.
Tulla. Simple as that.
Local rivals?
Yeah, Tulla. Look, for me, Jacana, it's the same people every week that are in the best. Morrison, Collis and Young, and they just don't have that extra spread.
And then we have Oak Park Airport West.
Airport West, given what they're doing at the moment, Tyson Young is in extreme form at the moment, just kicking bags all day, every day, and I think he'll kick another one on Saturday.
Does he get 10?
He's more than capable of.
Oh, I think he kicks
if
10.
If he can kick 8 with a dodgy knee or dodgy leg against Hillside, I think he's more than capable of kicking.
I don't think it's that dodgy.
He's more than capable of kicking 10 goals against Oak Park.
Get the shank down there and make sure it's 10 straight for him.
Well, he wasn't happy that Bior Maluel took the raw form seamless compression player of the day off him as well, apparently. He wasn't happy about that, Tyson Young. He's got Archers of Medal to go with it. He's probably the favourite to win this year's one as we speak as well. Taylor's Lakes has the bye. So we go to Strathmore Community Bank Division 2. This is a big game again for Coburg Districts. They're at home once more against Moonee Valley.
Because they're at home, I'm going to tip them. I looked last time they played, they lost by a point.
So as you said earlier in the show, you think Coburg Districts can still win the flag?
I do.
They're missing a number of players.
It has nothing to do with me being down there, or me knowing a few blokes down there, or me worried about what people will say if I tip against them. I just think, in my opinion, they still have that talent on that list to be able to just turn it on when they can. And yeah, I just think at their ground. They can.
So you think Moonee Valley, after winning their first 5 games, are going to go loss in a row?
I think so. They only beat Coburg at Moonee Valley's ground by 1 point early in the year.
That was a big game in round 1, Sprouts.
Well, that's still the thing with Coburg Districts. They are 2-4, but their percentage sits at 105. Yeah. And, those first 2 rounds, a kick either side.
Up until the weekend, they weren't really getting blown out too much.
Maybe they're sitting at 4-2, and, they were, up by 21 points at halftime against what looks like probably the best team in the division. I think Coburg Districts win this game.
Well, their biggest 2 losses are their last 2 losses. Burnside Heights, 28 points, and East Sunbury was a 31, something like that. The other 2 to Roxy and Moonee Valley were within 3 points.
Northern Saints, Roxburgh Park. We've already seen this matchup. The first time in round 1 was also at the Northern Saints. So the third meeting later in the year, that'll be the Roxburgh Park home game. But the Northern Saints hosting Roxy, it was a big win for Northern Saints in round 1.
Well, I think Roxy will reverse that. I reckon they've gotten everything starting to click now for the Magpies.
It's a very different form line than what it was back then.
I think they should get the win.
I think Northern Saints has a lot smaller ground than Lakeside. So I seen them last year there as well. I just think they struggled to play that game, that ground, Roxy, and Northern play it really well. So I'm only tipping Northern because it's there. And I think the boy, obviously, Coda and Rocky, I think they'll kick
it's a tricky ground, Charles Martin, isn't it?
It is.
That's the thing for Roxy this week. That their forward line's firing. We know how good their midfield is. But when you come up against these 2 guns that have already kicked bags against them, if the back line can really shut down the Northern Saints, I think it's just another bow in the arrow, another arrow for Roxburgh Park.
With Capuano, though, like you look at the Northern Saints ground, Capuano, he can play body on body, but he's more of a push off his man and get on that lead and get that mark. And if you get a quick clearance at Mutton Reserve, it's more of a big tall, or you've got to kick it to space to get that to get it. And sometimes you can shut down that space. And if you're kicking into Northern's forward line, you've got big Coda Taleb down there. he's the one that can take a big contested mark.
Finally, anyone tipping an upset? Hadfield, East Sunbury.
No.
Just East Sunbury by how much?
Let's leave it there. Burnside Heights has the bye this week. Let's go to EDFL Women's. It is round 7. Let's have a look at what we've got. There is one game on Saturday. I think it's Saturday twilight, 5 o'clock. Strathmore, Sunbury Lions.
Lions have been too good the last couple of weeks. I think they'll get another win.
They're an impressive side. Strathmore only to 2 wins.
Yeah, it was Sunbury Lions, was it?
Sunbury Lions.
Yes,
Kangaroos
absolutely.
have the week off this week.
Yep.
They've got the bye in EDFL Women's. Then we've got a whole bunch of games on Sunday. Keilor, Roxburgh Park. Roxy still winless.
Yeah, just on that fact, I think Keilor will get the win.
Yeah, Keilor for me.
Taylor's Heights, as we like to call them now, Sprouts. They're hosting Hillside.
Probably one of the closest games that we'll see this weekend. I think Hillside probably get the win, probably a little bit better defensively than Avondale Heights from what we've seen in Avondale Heights. What are we calling it? Taylor's Heights?
You're the one that christened them with that name.
Taylor's Heights.
I wanted Avondale Lakes, but AP didn't like that. So Taylor's Heights is what
Taylor's Heights probably just don't have the offensive power that I would like to see to get the win on the board.
I'm going to go for Taylor's Heights.
Yeah, they're looking for their first win. Aberfeldy, they've got West Meadows now. I reckon this is a pretty good game, this one on paper. Aberfeldy disappointing last week against Pascoe Vale. West Meadows have collected a few wins. It's an Aber's home game.
Aber's, for me, when they've been winning big as well.
It's probably the closest game of the round.
West Meadows for me.
Craigieburn, Keilor Park, 2 sides that have been battling a little bit.
Craigieburns probably been one of the unluckiest sides in the competition so far. Still sit 0-4, but I think they finally get the win on the board against Keilor Park
barring
this
a draw, someone's going to get their first win in that one, Kate.
Yeah, no, Craigieburn for me, their percentage obviously are far superior, so they look like they're being able to sort of stay in.
They've been pretty unlucky. Yeah. They've been pretty good defensively. Just haven't been able to kick some goals.
Then we have the best for last. It's the top of the table clash. They're both undefeated. Could be the grand final preview. It is Burnside Heights taking on Pascoe Vale.
Look at that percentage of Pascoe Vale. 667
It's outrageous.
forward.
A couple of weeks ago, it was like 28,000. So it's getting worse and worse. But
now they've got a danger game against the only other undefeated side in Burnside Heights.
Well, I think Burnside Heights get the win. They've obviously got the best
upset.
They've got the best forward in the league at the moment, and Pascoe Vale, Brooke McKinley, she's been very good. And
Paco's got Sydney Carlton, who's second on the goal.
You look at Paco, the defensive.
Where's it played at?
Burnside Heights, their usual ground.
Pascoe Vale, their back six hasn't really been tested this year. I think with a big power forward, if she can get a couple of bags, I reckon Burnside Heights are a big chance in this game.
I'm going to tip it like I tipped the seniors and their men, and they're playing away, so I'm going to go for Paco.
It's a really good round for EDFL Women's there, and that's it. They're all the games coming up on the weekend.